I wanted to give you a quick mini lesson on what makes something qualify as living or non-living. At the end of this little mini lesson, I want you to be able to determine yourself running a series of tests on an item to determine if it's living or non-living. There are 5 main characteristics of living things that all living things share. If you're going to qualify as a living thing, you must meet these 5 criteria. The first one is you must be composed of cells. This is the one we're working with right now as we start our unit with cells. Very easy to see cells under a microscope. So if you can see cells under a sample in a microscope, that thing is either living or was living. The next one is you must be able to reproduce. Some organisms reproduce by making an exact copy of themselves, and other organisms reproduce by taking half of the mother's DNA and half of the father's DNA and making a brand new organism. But either way is acceptable and qualifies as being able to reproduce. The third is that all living things use energy. Plants make their own, humans eat food, we break it down into energy that we can use, but you use energy. There are some non-living things, though, that do use energy, like a light bulb or a candle. So be careful when applying this test. And remember that a living thing must meet all 5 criteria. So even if it uses energy, that doesn't necessarily mean something's living. The fourth characteristic is called homeostasis. This is the test where the item must be able to respond to a stimulus. Right now, the beautiful trees are changing color. They're responding to the stimuli of the colder weather in our environment. Likewise, you must be able to change and adapt to your environment. When you are dirty, you take a bath. When you are outside, you put on sunglasses to protect your eyes, or you might squint in the sunlight. Those are all a part of homeostasis in maintaining your normal condition. So all living things maintain homeostasis, which means the normal living condition. The other is, the 5th characteristic is that all living things grow. This one's tough because some non-living things can be dead. They once were living, so they might meet a lot of criteria, but if they're no longer currently growing, they are not considered living. They are considered non-living. We'll go through some examples together. So just to recap, you must be composed of cells. You must use food to get energy. You must maintain homeostasis, that reaction to stimuli. You must be able to grow, and you must be able to reproduce. You have to do all 5 of those things to be considered a living thing. So let's go through a couple examples. Here are some burning candles. Does it contain cells? No. Does it contain DNA? No. Does it use energy? Yes, absolutely. But because it doesn't contain cells or DNA, it is non-living. How about a tree? Does it contain cells? Absolutely. Does it contain DNA? Yep, that tree needs that DNA to pass to its offspring so that they can create more of its own kind. Does it use energy? Absolutely. It takes energy from the sunlight, goes through photosynthesis, and creates its own car. All right, so then does this car contain cells? Nope. Does it contain DNA? Nope. Does it use energy? Yes, it does. It uses gasoline as fuel, but it doesn't qualify under the other conditions, so it is non-living. DNA, so here we're looking at red and white blood cells. Does it contain cells? Absolutely. Red and white blood cells are actual cells. Each of those cells houses DNA. And does it use energy? Absolutely. We talked about that one a little bit in class. How about water? Does it contain cells? No. Does it contain DNA? No. Does it use energy? No. Non-living. Fire, does it contain cells? Yes. No, it doesn't. It doesn't contain cells. It doesn't contain DNA. It does use energy. It burns fuel, but it does not meet any of the other criteria. How about a sunflower? That one's easy. Yes, contains cells. It's a plant. We know it's a plant, so we know it's living. It contains DNA, and it does use energy. Finally, our tree limb that's fallen here. This qualifies as non-living because it does contain cells. It does contain DNA within those cells. It used to use energy. It does not anymore, so it doesn't pass that test. And it will no longer grow, so it is no longer considered a living thing. I hope that helps clear up a little bit more about living and non